All right, let's dive right into this explainer and look at a massive medical mystery. We're talking about the silent epidemic lurking behind almost every modern chronic disease. We spend so much time focusing on individual ailments, heart disease, kidney failure, cognitive decline, but what if they all share a common hidden root? Well, today we are unmasking the metabolic shadow. It's an underlying dysfunction that quietly affects literally almost every organ in your body, long before any doctor hands you a diagnosis. It's stealthy, it's pervasive, and it is absolutely crucial that we understand it.
Look at this staggering number, 38.4 million. That's how many Americans are currently living with diabetes, right now. And about 90 to 95% of those are type 2. To put that into perspective, it's a massive portion of the population. But here's the crazy part. This number is really just the tip of the iceberg. There are nearly 8.4 million people who remain completely undiagnosed. They're walking around with elevated blood sugar and chronically high insulin levels, and they don't even have a clue. And honestly, even that doesn't tell the whole story of the damage being done beneath the surface. You see, typically, medicine only reacts to what we can easily see, right? Things like type 2 diabetes and high blood sugar. We tend to treat that as the starting line of the disease. But in reality, diabetes is just a late-stage symptom of a shadow that's been growing for decades. We're talking about silent insulin resistance. In almost all cases, the insulin resistance comes first, and the diabetes comes much, much later.
The suspect, unmasking insulin resistance. So, to protect ourselves, we really need to understand the mechanics of the crime. What exactly is going wrong inside your cells?
Well, here's the root issue. Insulin is a hormone produced by your pancreas, and its main job is to act like a key, unlocking your cells so glucose can enter and be used for energy. But due to a mix of genetics, maybe some inactivity, and the buildup of fat inside organs like the liver and muscle, which we call ectopic fat, the cells basically stop responding. They start ignoring the signal. So what happens? Your pancreas secretly starts working overtime, pumping out more and more insulin just to force that door open. This creates a state called hyperinsulinemia. Your blood sugar might look perfectly fine on paper, but your insulin is chronically elevated.
Let's walk through this timeline step by step so you can see exactly how insulin resistance acts as this silent precursor, masking the real danger for years. Step 1. The cells resist the signal. Step 2. The pancreas overproduces insulin to compensate. Step 3. This high insulin completely hides the problem. You feel fine, your routine lab work looks totally normal, but this hidden state can last for 10 years or more. It's literally only at step 4, when the pancreas finally exhausts itself and just can't keep up with the massive demand anymore, that your blood sugar actually spikes into the pre-diabetic or diabetic range.
The crime scene, full body impact. Okay, let's look at the actual damage here. Because insulin does so much more than just regulate blood sugar. It influences fat metabolism, your blood vessels, kidney function, inflammation, cell growth, and even hormone production. So when it's constantly elevated, it's impacting your entire body. When insulin remains chronically elevated like this, it wreaks total systemic havoc. It's basically the common thread connecting all these seemingly unrelated chronic diseases. Think about it. High insulin promotes sodium retention, which bumps up your blood pressure. It messes with the production of nitric oxide, making your arteries stiff and leading directly to cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and strokes. It drives excess fat right into your liver, causing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it disrupts hormones, leading to conditions like PCOS. It's the invisible architect of metabolic destruction.
Now this part is incredibly striking. Alzheimer's disease is sometimes referred to as type 3 diabetes. No way, right? Now, while this isn't an official medical diagnosis just yet, we are seeing growing, undeniable evidence that impaired insulin signaling right inside the brain directly contributes to neurodegeneration and cognitive decline. Your brain relies heavily on glucose for energy, and when insulin resistance crosses that blood-brain barrier, your brain cells effectively begin to starve.
The clues, spotting the warning signs. The scope of this damage is honestly terrifying, but here's the empowering part. You can spot the shadow before the damage becomes permanent. So, let's dive into the clues. What physical warning signs can you actually look out for right now without even stepping foot in a doctor's office?
Just look down at your waistline or check your neck in the mirror. Visceral fat, that deep belly fat, is a major driver of this condition. If your waist circumference is over 40 inches for men or 35 inches for women, that is a big red flag. Do you notice any skin tags, or perhaps something called acanthosis nigricans? Those are the dark, velvety patches of skin you might find on the neck, underarms, or groin. What about just an absolute inability to lose weight even though you're eating well and exercising? These physical clues are essentially your body's red alert system telling you that metabolic dysfunction is already happening.
What if normal blood sugar is a lie? This is the biggest misconception we need to bust today. Why does standard routine lab work often fail to catch this early on? Why do doctors tell patients for a whole decade that they are perfectly healthy, right up until the exact day they're diagnosed with diabetes? It really begs the question, what if normal blood sugar is a lie?
The next time you get blood work done, I want you to remember this. Standard tests, like your fasting glucose and hemoglobin A1C, have a fatal flaw. They only measure blood sugar. They completely ignore insulin. Relying purely on an A1C test might mean missing a decade of invisible damage, because as we've learned, your elevated insulin is working overtime just to keep that blood sugar looking normal. To actually see the shadow, you need advanced tests like fasting insulin and a HOMA-IR calculation. Those are what measure your actual metabolic dysfunction.
So how do we turn this into an actionable metric for you? Well, enter the number 1.5. You need to request a HOMA-IR test from your doctor. It's just a simple formula that multiplies your fasting glucose by your fasting insulin to estimate your overall insulin sensitivity. A score below 1.5 is your target for optimal insulin sensitivity. That's exactly where you want to be. But if your score starts creeping over 2.0 or 2.5, listen, that is a serious warning that insulin resistance is taking hold.
And there's another major clue, and it's probably hiding right there in the standard lipid panel you're already getting every year. High insulin stimulates your liver to produce more triglycerides while simultaneously shutting down your fat burning. And this usually leads to a really dangerous combination: elevated triglycerides and low HDL, the good cholesterol. This specific ratio creates these small, dense LDL particles, which is a highly atherogenic pattern. Basically, it leads directly to plaque building up in your arteries.
Seriously, grab a pen and write these markers down, because asking your doctor for the complete picture is exactly how you catch the shadow early. Look at your ALT liver enzymes. If they are elevated, it could be an early sign of fat accumulating in your liver. Ask for an hs-CRP test. That measures the systemic, low-grade inflammation that goes hand in hand with metabolic dysfunction. And finally, ask for ApoB. This test counts the actual number of plaque-forming particles in your blood. It gives you a much more direct assessment of your cardiovascular risk than just looking at standard LDL cholesterol.
The resolution: reversing the damage. Okay, let's move on to the good news. We've seen the suspect, we've analyzed the crime scene, and we've gathered the clues. But how do we actually solve this medical mystery? How do we step out of that metabolic shadow and reverse insulin resistance?
Here is the absolute best takeaway from all the source material. This damage is largely reversible, especially if you catch it early on. You don't need some miracle drug. The true cornerstone of treatment is lifestyle. Step 1. Lose excess body weight, specifically targeting that visceral abdominal fat. Step 2. Get moving. A mix of aerobic and resistance training actually forces your muscles to take in glucose, completely bypassing the need for huge insulin spikes. Step 3. Shift toward a whole food plant-based diet rich in fiber and cut out those ultra-processed refined carbs. And Step 4. Prioritize high-quality sleep and stress management. Honestly, even modest improvements across these 4 steps can profoundly improve your insulin sensitivity and completely restore your metabolic health. Insulin resistance is not just a blood sugar problem. It's a massive underlying metabolic dysfunction that is quietly affecting your entire body. So please don't wait for a diabetes diagnosis to finally take action. The tools to detect it are available, and the lifestyle changes to reverse it are entirely within your control. So are you ready to step out of the shadow and demand your full metabolic picture today? Don't let a normal blood sugar reading lull you into a false sense of security. Take your health back. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.